that
about when we
area.
were their age. Would
Oh
we have been
God,
able to handle an interview? I mean,
no,
we would have done it, but I'm pretty sure I just would have stared blankly into the screen and
for sure. I, I, I might have farted and looked off in the distance.
I'd have been like that kid when in Billy Madison when Sandler goes, first and second grade were easy, but social studies divisions, this is gonna be tough. And the kid's like,
Trendsetter. Whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller. Yeah, reach for my goals, hit it dead center. Hit it dead center.
You want to kick this thing off?
2027s. Let's do
You
it.
know it. All right, folks. Well, welcome. Sorry here as I try to clean up my desk. Welcome to Diggle's Diamonds podcast. This is episode 10, as Mr. Bentley noted in the green room prior to the show. We somehow made it into double-digit episodes, and we haven't been hit with a copyright infringement yet or a lawsuit of any kind.
No cease and desist
Yeah,
orders
no
have been
cease and
received by
desists.
our office.
Yeah, we must be living right, boss.
We're doing all right. 10's a big number. That was my baseball number. We're double digits. This is exciting times.
Absolutely. Exciting, even more exciting in that you get to go to your first PBR showcase tomorrow night.
I'm stoked. I have a wardrobe picked out and laid out. I put the wardrobe in the shower and steamed it a little, make sure it wasn't wrinkly. Locked and
Nice.
loaded, locked
Because
and loaded,
that's what
Diggle.
everybody will be looking at tomorrow night.
My backwards hat and flip-flop shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, folks, the theme of this episode, we've highlighted the class of 2025 exhaustively with who we thought were the best recruiting steals, who we thought some of the more impressive classes belonged to, and who we thought was still the best on the board. Went through and did the same 2026s. So now we thought it only fair to highlight some of the 2027s that we think should be known by more people around the state. These are young men who, in some cases they are ranked by PBR. Right now, PBR Illinois only goes to 50 in the class of 2027. So, a handful of these young men are ranked, but we're choosing them because they are, we think they're poised to blow up, I guess would be the way to phrase it. This does not mean just go through and pick out the top rated players. So, for example, we left Kash VanHouten off from Canton. It's not that we don't think the world of Kash. We know he's a darn good player. But we talked about him a little bit last week or a couple weeks ago when we did the K's highlight section after he'd been up to 94 miles an hour. And obviously, Kash is also, I don't know how much more you can blow up when you're 10th ranked in the state and coming off a year of varsity competition where you were all area and struck out 81 on the mound, and played for a regional, title. So not going to be talking about guys like that. There'll be a few maybe in that same, but again, we're just trying to familiarize everybody across the state with what's going on in the rest of the state is kind of the goal. And to that end, want to take a second and shout out a young man that we had on the list, Mount Vernon's Trevor McClure. Trevor, an outstanding two-way prospect. I'll let Dave talk a little bit more about him here in a second. But suffered a knee injury in basketball and will be missing the coming spring and summer season. So traded text with Trevor just the other day. He seems to be handling it well and is approaching this with the right mentality that this is just a small hurdle on the path to where he wants to go, which is a pretty high level because David, as you can attest, this young man has some pretty special two-way talents.
Yeah, he was my favorite. Like you said, we tried not to cherry pick and go for the low-hanging fruit and just run off the top 10, PBR ranked guys. That'd be easy. But boy, it was hard. Trevor was one of my favorite guys I looked at. Two-way talent. We can talk about him a little bit later, but seems like a really good young man, comes highly recommended as far as his skill set by Diego Solares, who I talked to a little bit about him and what he brings to the table. And, he'll be back. These boys are young. They get injured, be all right. We'll be talking about him back on the field soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have no doubt. And there will be no shortage of suitors for that young man's talents. Let's go ahead and get started here, Mr. Bentley.
So first, I want to give a special thanks to Diego Solares at Scouts Connect for providing me some insight and some stats on some of the players down south. Also, special thanks to Coach Brad Wendell at Geneva High School and Coach Luke Collins at Lisle High School, providing their insight on a couple players I'm going to talk about. And the first one I'm going to talk about is Coach Wendell.
And since you're on that topic, not to cut you off there, sorry, buddy. I want to shout out JD Arnold at Mount Zion for getting back to me. Mike Broadhurst with Wow Factor for getting back to me, and Jesse Crawford at Morton. It really, we're doing this for the love of the game, guys. Like this isn't monetized. We're trying to give you guys, bring some eyeballs to a sport that maybe doesn't get as much love as football and hoops does here in Illinois. So, we really appreciate you working with us, and we think it makes our product better.
As busy as you are and as busy as I am, mostly because I have 3 kids under 10 busy, but we can't get everywhere to see everybody.
Absolutely.
We made it obviously to the Louisville Sphere last night for the Peoria PBR showcase, but we can't be everywhere. We can't see everybody. Unlike PBR, we don't have a crew that we can send here and there. So when a coach gets back to me with a couple anecdotes about a young man, it helps us project to our audience who this kid is, what he's about. And I always like the stories that sometimes are a little adjacent to baseball, that occasionally would get a little tidbit from a coach that we would never know. Talking to him. So we do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
First one out of the chute, Noah Hallahan. This young man lives in my backyard, Geneva High School, the Vikings. He plays short, he plays third, he pitches. He's a righty, plays a little outfield. Coach Brad Wendell had great things to say about him, but really focused a lot on his size speed combo. This dude just turned 16. He's 6'2", 195. I mean, that's basically my stats, my metrics when I was 29, and in pretty good shape. This kid just turned 16. He played JV last year for Geneva as a freshman. Geneva had a pretty strong team. They had an all-stater at shortstop. So Noah played JV as a freshman, tore it up on the mound and in the box. 22 hits, 6 doubles, 2 triples. He hit a bomb when he was pitching. Opponents hit 200 off him. Coach Wendell said he's going to be making an impact on varsity this season. So as a sophomore, he's going to be playing strictly varsity, it looks like. Coach Wendell said he's a very hard worker. And Noah, congrats. I saw a tweet recently where he just touched 88 miles an hour. We always make jokes about the flux capacitor and Doc Brown. That's what it took to get that DeLorean to go back in time, if you know your 80s pop culture there. Look, this kid's bat speed is quick. 25 mile an hour hand speed. He's 84, 85, throwing it from short to first. His numbers this summer at Athletes HQ, he hit 343, over 1,000 OPS. He hit 3 tanks, and then on the hill, he threw 32 innings with a 3.43 ERA. It's one of those kids that he's built like a man at 16, and he's not going to get smaller, so he's probably going to get bigger.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how good he's going to be when he's a senior.
Yeah, I agree. It's an intriguing package to be sure. And honestly, he kind of reminds me of Josh Fleming, to be honest, from York.
Yes,
And
another speedy big guy.
yeah, and we saw what that kid did. He was a freaking destroyer. So that could be a scary combo, especially with 3 years of high school ball left.
With him being a Geneva guy, I will get to see him with about a 6-minute commute to the field. So I'll probably catch him multiple times. And I don't know how much he'll pitch. We'll see. I may hit up the coach if I try not to bother him in season.
Oh, they don't mind. That's
okay. Well, good to know.
Your email and find out when somebody's starting. That's
what I mean.
ideal.
I'd love to see him if he's going to start. If he's just working out of the bullpen, it is what it is. I'll catch multiple games and hopefully get to see him there. But I'd love to see what he does on the mound. And then, as I've told you, my son is much younger, but also plays for Athletes HQ. So maybe I'll run into him at the facility up in Elgin.
There you go.
So my number 2 guy, as you can see, pulled up with a name like Cy Craft. You have to be a pitcher and you have to play baseball. PBR's got him ranked number 18. By the way, Noah Hallahan was ranked 26. And we've talked again when we talked with Drew Locascio. These numbers are a bit arbitrary. They throw them in a bucket. So Cy could literally be number 9 to somebody else, and Noah could be number 7 to somebody else. But these are top 25 kids, at least the PBR rankings as they are now. So Cy's another righty. You're going to see that modus operandi by me on my picks tonight. A lot of right-handed pitchers. Cy is out of DuQuoin, the Indians. Last year, Coach Tim Davis had DuQuoin at 30 wins, and Cy Craft, as a freshman, had 5 of those wins on varsity. That's pretty impressive. He's about 5'10" right now, 165. Certainly has room to add weight. Who knows? Maybe he adds an inch or 2 on the height. His cheese is about 87 to 89 right now. He's got a 3-pitch arsenal. His changeup is getting filthier by the minute, according to Diego Solares. His spring,
that's a clean arm too.
Very clean. His spring stats, again, freshman on varsity, 2.67 ERA, 41 Ks in 39 innings, 2 complete games, a shutout, 3 saves. So he was being used all over. Diego told me this kid's an athlete. He only got 39 plate appearances. And in that 39, he walked 11 times, hit 320, and stole 8 bags, scoring 20 runs. Think about that, guys. So I think he's going to be a two-way, a dominant two-way. He's obviously going to be a two-way, but I think he's going to be a dominant two-way down there in Southern Illinois. Shout out to DuQuoin State Fair. Me and my college roommates at SIU went to the 1998 DuQuoin State Fair and saw what was left of Leonard Skinnard. And yes, they did rock pretty hard, even with half the band sadly deceased in that plane crash in 77, I believe. Awesome show. If you're ever down that way, give it a shot, man. The DuQuoin State Fair is underrated.
DuQuoin also the home of some great sprint car racing.
Yes. Not a bad little town.
Not at all.
I'm trying to remember how far it was from Carbondale when we made that commute. Probably about
30 miles?
Yeah, that sounds right. I was thinking like a 40-mile.
Yeah.
40-minute drive.
30 minutes, 45-minute drive. Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
My next guy is Liam Scaiefe. He plays for Freeburg High, the greatest mascot ever in the history of Illinois high school, except maybe the Cobden Apple Knockers. But Freeburg High are the fighting midgets, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't forget the orphans in Centralia.
That's true. It's a good one.
We won't talk in Freeport, the corn jerkers in Hoopston.
We won't get into what Pekin used to be in the 70s before they changed that. You guys can look that up. we're staying apolitical here, guys. But Liam's a right-handed pitcher, as you can see. Um, as you pointed out when we were talking before, Ben, this is the only video we have on him. This guy's
Literally
in the
the only video
shadows.
on the internet. Like, this kid
This
is
is it.
so unknown, it's unreal.
I think he doesn't have Twitter. I think I tried to find him there, couldn't find him. He's hiding in the shadows like Batman. He's a big dude already. 6'4", 190. Doesn't turn 16 until the summer. This kid could be 6'7" in 2 years. I mean, who knows? Diego Solares at Scouts Connect tells me that it's very rare that Freeburg High will let a freshman throw. But since he threw 19 innings and didn't give up a run, maybe they make an exception moving forward because he set a new standard. His pepper jack cheese is up to 87 for the big fella, and you know that's just going to go up. His changeup is disgusting. He throws it with the same arm speed as the fastball, has some late fade to it. Big dude, could get bigger.
I'm telling you, these kids, you know, I once listened, Drew Dickinson, who was then the pitching coach at Illinois and is now the pitching coach of Virginia. Drew came over to watch some of our kids work out one time and it ended up turning into a pitching clinic. And at the time, like, I was still, you know, I've learned a lot about pitching in the last, you know, decade or so, but before that it was kind of unknown. But Drew was talking about tunneling and all this, and at the time it was really noticeable that a lot of kids couldn't get that tunneling effect, you know, the same release point, the same arm slot, the same arm speed, all that stuff. And now there's some kids that are just, I mean, it's almost unfair when you can't figure out what's coming out of that window. You're screwed.
You know, Diggle, when we were younger, I just don't think that they had the specialized one-on-one training that's available now. I'm very jealous.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I'm happy for my two boys and my girl who could play softball. She signed up this year, 7-year-old
Nice.
softball league. But
And we call her Marla Hooch.
Yes.
Shout out Tim Forker, by the way, former Limestone coach Tim Forker, now the AD at Williamsfield. That was what he called his daughter.
Oh
Marla
man.
Hooch.
Yeah, I wish they had even like two guys when I was, you know, in the 90s, like two guys in the Peoria area that were known, like, oh, if you want to work on your stuff, go to this guy. Sure, you could find it, but man, you had to dig. And
I don't think you could. Like, the only guy
I don't
that
remember
I'm even
anybody
remotely aware of, like, the only two were Tom Gillis and Todd Furness, and I think that was it. Like,
I mean, so I played Sunday morning league when I was a senior in high school, and I remember batting against Mike Dunn. God knows why they let me bat, but
yeah,
I was a pitcher. But that was a guy I remember thinking he hits me with a fastball and then two fork balls or splitties, and that was it for me. I remember thinking though, I wish I could talk to this guy after the game and just ask him for some tips. Because at that point I was getting ready to go to Monmouth College to pitch, and but I was too timid, you know. But that was a guy. Mike Dunn was a legend at that point in Peoria, still is. You know, NL Rookie of the Year for the Pirates. And I remember thinking, I wish I could pick his brain for a little bit.
Oh my dude, so I owe Mike Dunn a ton. Mike literally, you know, so I'm like you, like, I want to pick people's brains and learn, like, hey, if I'm going to be involved in this sport, like, I need to know everything.
Yeah.
And so I attached myself to Mike's side. Like, whenever he was at a game, I was with him. And he was so cool. It's one of the many, like, I could go on and on about all the people who have helped me get to this point in this sport. But Mike was absolutely one of the first to introduce me to, like, the finer points of pitching, and was just outstanding about it. And I can't ever thank him enough. My other favorite Mike Dunn story, this one revolves around a poker game attended by several of my coworkers at the Journal-Star. And one of those gents, Randy Bruce, couldn't believe that they were playing cards with Mike Dunn. And the whole game just kept repeating, no shit, 1986 Rookie of the Year, Mike Dunn. I'll be damned. I'm playing cards with 19. Like, he was just mind blown by it.
He was a big deal. He still
Yeah.
is. But the kids probably, unless you play for Richwoods because he's their pitching coach,
Yeah.
or he's got that Legion team, or you pay attention to the history of Sunday Morning League. The younger fellows may not know who he is, but I got to tell you, my generation and the kids 10 years older than me, probably 7 years younger than me, they all know who he was.
Yeah.
Just
All
by
I know is
name.
that dude's got a gold medal and a rookie of the year and a gold glove, I think.
Yeah.
So that's not bad.
So we move on to my number 4.
Yeah, let's do it.
Mr. Darren Klein, right-handed pitcher out of Mascoutah High. Mascoutah's the Indians, not unlike DuQuoin. For those of you who don't know, Mascoutah is basically a metro east, a little bit on the southeast side suburb of St. Louis.
Home to Scott Air Force Base.
That's right. Darren 6'2", 185, good size for a sophomore. He's up to 87 miles an hour. Spring stats.
I think he was 89 yesterday, by the way.
Okay.
I think he was at one of the Scout Connect events. I think I saw 89 from Diego.
Good to hear. Good to hear. He's got the frame for it. He can go higher too. Freshman pitching on varsity. Guys, you know, you young kids, some of you know, some of you don't. It's hard. It's hard to play any position freshman on varsity, but pitching, it's just very difficult. I didn't do it. I'm trying to think, Ryan Alexander out of Peoria, Notre Dame did. I'm trying to think of other kids, around our age that pitched as a freshman on varsity.
I think Sean Roberts did at Dunlap.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't doubt if somebody like Courtney
Penka?
No, Penka did not. Penka did sophomore year. And of course has the record for 8-hit batsmen.
Ooh, Prina.
Prina did? Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt that. Lefty Prina out of Washington, the Panthers, whose son Carter is a nice prospect in football.
Two-sport prospect. Yeah, yep. Could be a football player or a baseball player.
Defensive lineman.
Also up to 87 off the mound. 6'4", 250. He's a big boy.
Yep.
And he's got juice in the bat.
But I'll finish up Mr. Klein here. His spring stats, 54 innings. That is a load for a young kid. 1.16 ERA in those 54 innings. Second team all conference in the Mississippi Valley. Diego Solares said he's added about 20 pounds of muscle since last spring. So, picture him 6'2", 165 hurling last spring to the tune of 1.16 in 54 innings. And now he put on 20 pounds of muscle. So good luck, you Mississippi Valley foes. Darren's going to be ready for you. My last one I've got is Hunter McGrath. We're headed north to Lisle High, the Lions. Hunter's right-handed pitcher, shortstop, 85 miles an hour right now with the Cheddar. Again, freshman on varsity, pitching 35 Ks in 23 innings, 3.8 ERA. Varsity opponents hit 225 off him, again, when he was 15 years old, and some of them were 18. Coach Luke Collins, first-year coach there. I think he was a 7 or 8 year assistant out of maybe Plainfield East, if I remember.
Yes. Yep.
So he's taken over Lisle. He was gracious enough to provide me with some good insight. He's had a lot of high praise for Hunter. Described him as a special kid, natural leader, extremely mature, and he said his work ethic is second to none. I mean, that's hitting all the green flags, all the points a college coach wants to hear about a young man. And Hunter's going to be nice. I may be able to get a look at Hunter. Lisle is not too far from me. So I will check their schedule and try to check this guy out in person. Diggle, you and I have talked about when we were doing our 5 2027s, how hard it is because these young men are so immature, and it's and not in a bad way, but they're young, they're underdeveloped. It's hard to pick 5 to talk about. So I wanted to give some love to 2 more guys. Just real briefly, Matt Ritchie pitcher out of St. Charles North. He just hit 90 miles an hour in a bullpen this winter. Congrats. That's bringing it, dude. Matthew Donnelly, outfielder out of Mount Prospect. He went to PBR's O'Hare showcase last week and ran a 6.49560. That's cooking.
I'm a fat guy, so let's be real clear. I've never moved at anything close to that speed, but I don't think people even then understand how rare speed like that is. Like the only other kid that I've seen run like that is John Ray from Bloomington Central Catholic, who I watched run 6.47 the first time, and when a scout called BS on it, turned around and ran 6.43 on his very next attempt. And that's one of the biggest reasons why he's in AAA with the Royals right now and probably competing for a big league roster spot. So it's just, I mean, man, that's lightning fast. Like that, you can't even, that's automatic bases. Like first to third, second to home, like you might as well just hit the cutoff man and try to limit the advance of the other guys.
Yeah. And I mean, being that young, going that fast, I mean, I'm sure he's worked on his speed, but think about how much more room he has.
Oh, 100%.
2.5 years to continue to work on his speed. And I mean, yes, most of these kids are born with it.
Yeah.
You can improve. The technology is crazy now compared to when I was younger. You can improve. It's just science now. It's just follow this formula. We will get you quicker.
Well, and I've said this before, but we've identified the areas in baseball that you can improve upon, and running is one of those.
Yep.
You know, you can, whether it's a lifting regimen, an explosive regimen, you know, whatever it might be, you can improve your time. So, you know, given, you know, like you pointed out, 2.5 years now, college weight program, if we came back in, you know, 4 years and this dude was getting ready to be a draft eligible, you know, junior, and he told me it was like low 6.3s, I'd be going, yeah, that checks out.
Yep.
So
that's it for me, sir.
All right, let's see if I can take a crack at this then. First out of the box for me is a young man that we're going to hear from. He was kind enough to join us, Graydon Leonard, out of Gibson City-Melvin-Sibley High School. This one has a lot of special meaning for me. My family is actually from the Gibson City area. That's where my family lived. I spent my first 10 years of my life going to the fireworks at Sibley. What qualified as a lake probably would be a very small farm pond these days. But either way, great kid. You know, you pointed out freshman playing on varsity. This kid took his team to the state finals last year as a freshman. He was 5-0 with a 1.29 ERA and 53 Ks in 39 innings for GCMS. Bat was a little further behind, but it didn't have to play up because they had kids like Ty Cribbett, who's at Milliken now, Braden Elliott, who is headed to Illinois Wesleyan. So he had some help around him, didn't have to necessarily be a bat. And I think his future might be on the mound no matter what, but he is a really nice two-way player. Last summer with the Rhino K's bunch, he was 3-1, 2.33 ERA, and opponents managed to just hit 151 off of him. So this young man has a bright future. You know, fastball's creeping into that 84, 85 range now. It's only going to get better. He's a multi-sport kid, football, basketball, and baseball, but wants to be a baseball player. And I think you're going to see once he's going to be one of those kids like Mason McCoy that when he focuses on baseball, it's going to be pretty good. And also an outstanding student with a 4.0 GPA. So kudos to that young man. Graydon was kind enough to join us on President's Day, took a little time from his day off school and basketball practice to tell us a little bit more about his offseason and what he thinks the future. All right, buddy. Well, first, let's talk a little bit about your freshman year. I mean, you know, you step in right as a regular on that Gibson City team, and you guys end up at the state finals. What was that like as a freshman to go to the state finals?
It was definitely a great experience. It was a blast. Our senior class last year was very heavy. I think like 6 of our 9 starters were seniors. So,
yeah, it was basically you and Braden, and then a bunch of seniors.
Yeah, But yeah, it was definitely a great experience. Hopefully we get to do that again. I mean, it was really fun, and yeah, definitely a lifetime memory.
Okay. What about your summer last summer with the Rhino K's crew? What did you pick up anything? Did you,
Yeah, that was
with the jump or what?
yeah. Playing 1A baseball, sometimes you don't get the greatest competition, but I feel like playing with Rhino K's this summer definitely put us out there and got us a lot of good competition that we played during the summer. So I think that was good and learning moments for sure. But yeah, it got us a lot better.
And what did that did it push you to work on anything in particular this off season?
Yeah, it definitely pushed me to work in the weight room because there's guys throwing harder than me, and that just pushes me to work harder and to get to that level so that I can play further on in my life.
Okay. What about what are your thoughts on the coming year? What do you think the year holds for you personally and for your Gibson City squad?
I think the year could go great. I mean, we've still got a few juniors, and me and Braden definitely could carry the squad pretty far. But yeah, I feel like we should do pretty well, and if we play like a team, should make it to sectionals.
Okay. What about you? Any goals as an individual?
Definitely as a pitcher, my goals are to stay more locked in on the zone. I feel like sometimes last year, as a freshman, you are yipped up a little bit, and definitely there were a couple outings where I threw pretty out of it. I was out of it, but I feel like this year I'll be a little more comfortable my second year. So I just need to lock in more on the zone and focus on my command.
Okay. All right, buddy. Well, that's all I got, man.
All right.
Easy peasy, all right?
Yep. Thank you for
Everything
the
else.
opportunity.
You're also going to hear from our next young man. That would be Chase Reinhart, straight out of Normal West High School. This young man had himself a week, as you can see in the video there, popped his first 90s. He'll talk more about unlocking that secret here a little bit because he also joined us earlier in the broadcast. We'll edit that in. But this young man had a summer. The only other summer I can compare to it is the summer that Danny Russell had back in 2008 for the Central Illinois Outlaws, where he just buzzsawed people and was throwing like 60 pitch complete games. And Chase was not far off from that. That kid, against a really tough schedule that included invite only events, all invite only events, 28 inning scoreless streak to start the summer, threw a no hitter in there as well. Ended up last summer 3-1 with a 0.47 ERA. Gave up just 12 hits all summer. Struck out 60, and here's the grabber, David. What do you think opponents hit off him? Take a guess.
Well, we just heard what 151, so
Yeah.
it's got to be slightly better than that, I'm guessing. So I'll take a shot. I'll say 120.
Ooh, close. 118.
I
118.
love the way he hides the ball.
Yes, and
God,
if we go back and look, this
He
slider
doesn't
is
let you see the ball till the last second, and then if it's
yeah.
coming 90, good luck.
Yeah, and throws the slider. The slider is an absolute weapon. It's a legit out pitch. You're going to see 2,300, 2,400 RPMs in this video, which just tells us there's more to work. If you told me in 2 years he was spinning at 2,500, 2,600, that would be legit. Like it's the type of pitch that gets guys drafted. He's also an athlete. Somewhere in his highlight video, there's highlights of him scoring from second on a passed ball at one of the fields at the Rock Sports Complex or the Rantoul Family Sports Complex down there in Rantoul, which is not a big backstop. Like you can see there, that the camera's on the backstop there. That's the field it happened on, and it is there's not a lot of space back there. So to score from second, you're awful quick.
Being ranked 15 again, we've harped
Yeah.
on this before. The bucket, like Drew Locascio said,
Yeah.
he could frankly be number 4. He could
Yeah,
be
and
number 3.
I
He
think
could be
he's
7.
probably worthy of that, to be honest.
He is filthy.
Yeah, I think talking with Josh Cowton, who I work with, he's part of that Rhino K's group, Chase is that I work with. He's going to be a very busy man come August 1st. It's really something else. So yeah, listen to what Chase has to say coming up next about his slider. Well, we are fortunate enough to be joined by yet another stellar 2027. That is Chase Reinhart, straight out of Normal West, playing for the legendary Chris Hawkins out there. Or as Hawk likes to say, the West Side is the best side. Unfortunately, I don't think anything rhymes with community, so poor Ryan Short and the Ironmen sometimes come up a little short in the rhyming department, in the slogan department. But still, shout out to both normal teams. Really good. Chase, let's talk a little bit about this progress, man. Like what have you been working on this winter?
This winter's been big on like working out. I've gone to like way more workouts than I did last year, and I've been like way more committed because like again, this is the only sport I do, so I am like only committed to baseball the entire off season. So it's literally like after season ends in the summer, it's literally basically just going to work out and then going to do my arm care stuff. Which arm care this year also, I've been working on that a lot more than I did, taking it way more seriously, and just taking everything more seriously in general. So
Okay. David, why don't you go ahead and fire away with a question there?
I think it's good you're doing the arm care, Chase, especially as hard as I've seen you throw. That's smart to get after that.
yeah.
I got a question. What's one thing that, either Coach Hawkins or Josh Cowton or somebody that's worked with you on pitching, what's one thing that you learned from a coach that you didn't know before and has really made a difference in either, command, velo, whatever?
Yeah. So Josh literally the other night coached me and told me I need to get more coil in my hips. And I think that is one of the keys to like that I got 90 because he fixed like everything. And I think like the month before I was topped out at like 88, and I was kind of like topping out there and I wasn't even close. I didn't even feel well either while throwing it. But as soon as he fixed my mechanics, that like completely changed everything. So
He knows his anatomy. I mean, the
yeah.
dude's got the degrees to prove it.
Absolutely, and that's one of the more underrated aspects that a lot of people don't understand is, you're trying to build from the ground up, but it's a chain reaction, and so you have to fire those hips
Yeah.
for all that energy to transfer, through your trunk into the arm. Talk a little bit about your slider because it's rare enough to see high school kids with an advanced breaking ball, but it's even rarer to see a young man your age. I mean, you've had
Yeah.
that slider dialed in since, well, as long as I've known you, but I'm sure even before that. Like, where did you pick that up?
I randomly last year it was kind of like I was working with like a curveball and a slider because I didn't really figure out my arm slot yet. So it was kind of like sidearm, it was kind of a slider, and then like over the top was kind of a curveball. So I've kind of started dialing more and kind of like in the middle to produce like not a slurve, but kind of a slider-ish curve.
Yeah,
And
you've definitely got more angle on it than most
yeah,
sliders.
because it breaks just right, straight right, and no, but I've had the same grip for a while. I think the best I've learned about it is just like flick my wrist more and try to get more spin right on it because I need to get that up just a little bit more.
Yeah, although I saw 2400 on that
Yeah,
on that monitor the other night, man. So that's not bad. But yeah, 2500, 2600. That's where you get the elite stuff for sure.
yeah.
What's the future? What do you think the spring holds for the Iron or for the Wildcats? Not the Ironmen. My God, I'll start a war for the Wildcats.
I don't know. We lost a lot of our good seniors, but I think we still have maybe a strong year. We have a super hard schedule this year. So I don't know with losing all those guys because we had a lot of actually really good guys last year that I didn't notice at the time. But honestly, as season came to an end, I started to notice more that everyone was like growing and everyone was really good, honestly. But
You guys were hot by the end of the year.
I know, yeah, because we started off pretty rough. I think we started off like 0-5, but then we got to a 20-win season.
Yeah.
But I don't know about this year because we lost again a lot of our guys, and we have a lot of juniors and underclassmen. So it's kind of like a rebuilding year for everyone, and
Yeah.
we'll see.
I
But
know you logged a lot of varsity time last year. I know
yeah,
Sam McCulley logged some too. Anybody else in that underclassmen group that has kind of logged some
um,
time?
I don't like last year. No one got pulled up. This year, I think we might have a few guys from
Yeah.
our like 2027s that might get pulled up. Maybe just the Gulf Shores for like the JV games, but
Okay.
nah, I think we have a lot more like talent at RH right now in the
Good.
future. So
And what's the summer hold? What do you think the summer is going to look like for that Rhino K's group?
I don't know. We've had a lot of guys get injured because I think Landon Beckman just got injured too.
Yeah, he got hurt during hockey.
So I don't know. I really hope we can get more guys because I know we added Kyle Glass to our team. I think that's
Yeah.
gonna be a really good asset.
Good.
And then I'm hoping we get maybe some POs, maybe some more pitchers because we probably need a little bit more to get into those tournaments. So especially Georgia.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. David, you got anything else for this young man?
Yeah, one more thing. So
Hit me.
when I was like 23, done playing ball collegiately and all that, I played Sunday morning league and I pitched with my glasses on. At that point, I had ditched the contacts. I was tired of them.
Yeah.
I've seen video of you throwing with your glasses. Does it affect you at all? Are you so used to it now that it's just normal? Because the only thing that would get me is when I'd get real sweaty, I'd have to constantly do this to keep the sweat out of my
Yeah.
eyes.
So
Go ahead.
so that actually happened when it started getting like pretty hot because when it goes from winter to summer, my glasses sometimes will start to fog up.
Yep.
So I think I only had like one of those games, but I I just got brand new like kind of like sports glasses to lock it on my face because I used to have trouble with when I'd throw it, they'd like kind of jump up and down,
Yep.
and I wouldn't be able to kind of focus on like the catcher's mitt. So that'd be the
Right.
only problem. Yeah.
And if the grounder's coming back at you fast, too,
Exactly,
you're like,
yeah.
oh man, I lost my vision for a half a second.
Yeah.
So what you're telling us is that even though you carved everybody up last summer to the tune of like 28 straight scoreless innings, a no-hitter, and 2 earned runs all summer,
He did
your
it all
control is
blind.
going to be even better. Like,
Yeah.
you're like the Rick Vaughn, but like Rick Vaughn was already a surgeon, and now you're like the world's biggest brain surgeon, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Well, hey, buddy, that's all we've got for you, man. I appreciate you jumping on, and look forward to seeing you here pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, all right,
Good
man.
luck to you, Chase.
Keep up the good work, all right?
Keep that
Yep.
arm healthy.
All
I
right.
will.
See you, Chase.
See ya.
Bye. Our next young man, let me zoom a little bit ahead here. There he is. Hudson Lovell, straight off the mean streets of Morton. That's downstate Morton for you Chicago folks. But Hudson Lovell, I watched this kid's varsity debut last year. Was hitting in the 9-hole. It was at this. No, it was. They played. Shoot, it was like the second game of a doubleheader against I think Normal Community, and Hudson homered in that game, and then you saw him there against Tremont. Just an all-around athlete. Uh, you know, has been up to 87 off the mound. Got 90 plate appearances at the varsity level last year. Hit 292, 3 doubles, 2 home runs, 15 RBIs. Perhaps most impressive, he walked more than he struck out. Walked 12 times, only struck out 10. And the most impressive number, David, did not make an error in 188 chances in the field. Most of those coming at catcher, but still to be like not one bobble in 188 chances is just insane.
And he's catching Ryan Schaffnet. And
Yeah.
We had the pleasure of watching him catch Kash
Last night.
VanHouten from Canton last night. And Kash had some good control, but there was a couple that were in the dirt and he handled it so easily. Just looked like it was it all came natural to him.
Well, and the best part was we're walking off the turf with him. He's like, I've been catching him since we were 8. Like, this is no big deal.
Yep. You could tell the attitude matched his skill level. He's a special player.
Yeah, tell the folks a little about what your good friend Adam O'Neill had to say about this kid.
So Adam talked about his work ethic, and he just said, look, you don't see, first of all, Adam O'Neill is the varsity football coach at Morton. He's also the whole school's strength and conditioning coach. And he said, you don't see a kid like Hudson with the kind of work ethic, maturity, attitude at that young age. He said, obviously you're going to see guys that are trying to get recruited later in their high school career, really getting after it in the speed training to get faster, as well as the weight training for everything. He said, but Hudson to him stood out as just last year, especially as a freshman, just getting after it, so focused that he said there's just not a lot of kids that age. And he was referring to mostly last year when he started as a freshman that really placed the priority of working hard that high, because kids want to go have fun. They want to chase, these boys want to chase girls. They want to get in trouble. They have other sports, so
yeah.
He said Hudson just stood out in that category of
you forwarded me that text, and we said this earlier. I forget which young man it was about. I think it might have been maybe Klein or Craft. I can't remember which, but just green flags for days. It's like talking to Joe Falkowski a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
with the answers Joe was given. Like, those are just pure green flag interviews for green flags for a college coach. Like,
when we talked to Hudson on the show and in person yesterday at the event at the Louisville Sphere, he to me exudes a humble confidence.
Yeah.
I think we've had some others on that have had a real alpha, and I like that too, the alpha mentality. But Hudson seemed very just like Coach O'Neill said, just kind of mature. Yeah. Very confident in himself, like with the comment, I've been catching 92 miles an hour from Kash since I was 8, but he didn't do it in a cocky way. He did it in a joking, fun way. And you can tell he believes in his skill, and the skill is believable.
Yeah.
I can tell you. Not just defensively, but with the arm, with the bat.
Yeah. He's going to be one of those guys that is he's going to be a guy that can beat teams by himself. You catch that kid on a day where, he honestly reminds me a lot of Adam Christensen, who's another Morton kid, played for us at ICC back in 2018, 2019, and then went to Ball State. And Adam Christensen is still responsible for one of the greatest outings I've ever seen. I watched that kid throw a complete game one-hitter. This was at ICC against Lincoln, which is obviously a really good JUCO program. I watched that kid throw a one-hitter and hit a grand slam in the same game, and I really believe Hudson has that same kind of potential.
Speaking of comps, a guy I played with, Brock Lavin, who played 4 years varsity at Richwoods, who was a catcher. And so he caught Frank McIntosh, a lot of good guys that are much older than him. Defensively, Hudson reminded me of Brock Lavin, just the way he moved, how confident he was, he made it look easy to stop a ball in the dirt that was coming from Kash at 92 miles an hour, and then the slider probably mid 80s.
Yeah.
It just seemed like he had been doing this for 20 years. Just so easy. Like it was just nothing. Just when you make it look that easy, you're going to go places. And Brock Lavin was one of those guys, a 4-year catcher on varsity for Richwoods in the 90s. It's a big deal. Shout out to Brock, Officer Brock Lavin, that is.
Nice.
Actually, I think he's now a lieutenant. Sorry.
No, gotta be, don't mess that up. Otherwise you stop getting out of tickets.
Yeah.
My last one here is another kid I was familiar with, but I think, Dave, you and I really liked what he had to say in his interview. Keaton Ariano, man, just a violent swing. You know, doesn't get cheated. Talking to him, told us he works with Trey Hannum from time to time up there in the Quad Cities. If you folks don't know who Trey is one of the best hitting coaches in the country. I keep stressing that. And Trey raved about his physicality, and that's important because Trey knows what it takes to be a physical player. When Trey was at ICC, he put on 20 pounds of muscle in 1 year on the weight program. And that's what turned him into eventually an all-conference player at the University of Illinois Springfield back when UIS was, first starting to make noise. Very similar here. You can see the quads. He's, you got a little quadzilla in him. Just a good frame, and the swing is just violent. And he gets that swing off, and it goes. It's just
It's a simple swing,
yeah,
but a beautiful swing.
yeah, absolutely. Also, sub 7 runner, usually right in that 6'9", 7 flat neighborhood. 85 from the outfield last night at the Peoria show, at the PBR Peoria showcase. This kid, that bat is going to make someone really happy here in a couple years at the college level. Just to give you some stats on Ariano real quick, super quick bat, 25.4 mile an hour hand speed, 81.8 mile an hour bat speed. It gets through the zone, and there are bad intentions behind every swing. So looking forward to seeing what this young man can do for the Maple Leafs this year. Both Keaton and Hudson Lovell were kind enough to join us to tell us about their offseason work. Let's talk a little bit about that swing first of all. You're obviously, pretty well trained. You said off camera you work with Kyle Wise and Trey Hannum, and I don't know Kyle, but I know Trey pretty well. What have you taken away from your time with Trey?
I'd say a lot of it's been timing, and we're working on a lot with the leg kick and the load back, and then getting to the ball and whipping through the zone. Yeah, so I'd say a lot of it's been timing. Yeah.
Okay. What about what have you been working on this winter? What was the one thing you went into the off season knowing, hey, I want to do this. I want to get better at this, or put more pounds on? What are you looking at?
Yeah, so it's definitely been putting some more pounds on. I've been in the weight room a lot. Our Geneseo High School has a really, really good strength and conditioning program, and our community's put a lot into the facilities we have and we're able to use. So I've been lifting 3 times a week with them. And then I go to QCA Athlete Academy in the Quad Cities, ran by Chase Holmer with a current teammate of mine, Colin Schwagen. So we do that 3 times a week. And we're in the QCA Athlete Academies, a lot more athletic-based movements and similar stuff to those.
Okay. Hudson, what about you, man? What's the you're kind of an interesting character. You can play a little bit everywhere. You're a catcher, you're a shortstop, you're a right-handed pitcher.
Yeah.
What's the favorite?
I would say catching's, but definitely the favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why would it be the favorite?
I just like being in every play, not that, pitching you're in every play too, but I like having like the pressure to, you always have to block the ball, keep the ball in front of you, stealing strikes, helping my pitcher out, like building that relationship with the pitcher is always good. Like the amount of relationships I've built with pitchers is crazy, and like they turn into amazing friendships too off the field.
Very cool. Very nice. What about you? Anything particular that you were working on this winter?
Yeah, I was working on tons of speed stuff. I'm not necessarily super slow, but that was one thing that I put my mind to, like get faster. I worked on a ton of explosive stuff, and obviously getting stronger too, getting my velo higher and my exit velo. But I would say the main focus was getting faster. And
who have you been working with for speed training?
We have speed training coach at Morton.
Okay.
Is it
He's
Coach
like-
O'Neill?
Yeah, Coach O'Neill. He's really good. I like him.
He spoke very highly of you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Hudson.
I've
I talked to Coach O'Neill tonight. Actually, he and I have been friends for like 30 years. I'm
Yeah.
going to quote him. He said about you. He said his focus to improve every day is different than most kids his age. So that's high praise.
Yeah.
And it's good to see, people like you and Keaton so young getting after it in the weight room. Before you're 17, 18. It's only going to help you in the end. And it's something I wish when I was playing that, the JV freshman teams pushed a little harder for baseball. Of course they did for football, basketball too, but for baseball, they just didn't. I went to Richwoods, and it's not their fault. Times were just different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've learned so much from Coach O'Neill. Like, there's so much more to sprinting than just sprinting, like just form and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that. It gets to a point where you're talking about shaving off tenths of a second, hundredths of a second.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Keaton, I think you're a sub-7 runner. I think 6.96 is the fastest I've seen, but you might have gone quicker at some point. I'm sure you've been told, hey man, if you can get that down to 6.7, 6.6, like that, between the pop in your bat and the juice in your arm, man, that starts to look like a really tooled up player right there.
Definitely. I ran a 7.02 at a PBR event at the state games, and then hand times I was down to a 6.8. So I think there might be a little human error in there, but
that's all right. We adjust for that. Keaton, what's the spring look like for the Maple Leafs?
I think we're looking pretty good. We have a lot of veteran leadership on our team. We have a lot of 2 or 3 year varsity guys, and then we have some sophomores who are looking to make an impact as well. So I think we're going to be pretty competitive in the Western Big Six.
Very nice, very nice. What about the summer with the Wow Factor crew?
Oh, I think we're going to be really competitive as well. We're going to hopefully win a lot of games, win some tournaments this summer too.
Absolutely. You're running around with guys like Klein and Kash. That's not to mention Connor Fox and does McClure play with you guys, or is that the Southern team?
I think that's either like the Chicago area team or the Southern team.
He's the Southern team. It's down Mount Vernon way. But so yeah, that's awesome, man. That's a great bunch to be associated with. Hudson, what about you, buddy? What's the spring look like for the Potters?
I think we're going to be pretty solid. We got a lot of bats, a lot of pitching, a lot of returning talent. I mean, we lost Tanner and Noah Suttles. We're going to have to make up those innings, but I think we got a lot of juniors that are going to pitch a lot and make a really big impact, and some sophomores even. Obviously, we have Ryan. He's our horse coming into the season, and he's got that killer mentality. He just wins, and that's what we need. We need good leadership too.
Yeah. What about summer with the Canes crew?
I think we're going to be solid again. I mean, we added a couple POs. This is our last year we have some 2026s that play with us, and this is our last year that they can play with us. But I mean, Trevor Ames, he's a big arm. We have a couple other big arms and some other big bats too. So I think we should be solid there too.
Got my guy Keegan Scholl.
Yeah, he's on the other one.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't realize you guys had 2 teams at that level.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Well, boys, I appreciate the heck out of you joining us.
Good stuff.
Dude, there's so many good kids. Like that area.
When we were their age, would we have been able to handle an interview? I mean,
no.
We would have done it, but I'm pretty sure I just would have stared blankly into the screen and
for sure. I might have farted and looked off in the distance.
I'd have been like that kid in Billy Madison when Sandler goes, first and second grade were easy, but social studies divisions, this is gonna be tough. And the kid's like,
All right. Well, next up, we have a young man who I was unfamiliar with till Mike Broadhurst put me on him. And after I talked to my buddy JD Arnold at Mount Zion, that was only further confirmed. Connor Fox, you can see there, kind of a man of all tools. And what's really interesting is he's being mentored there by two pretty good ball players. Center field and on the mound, you've got Sammy Driscoll, who's a Lindenwood recruit. Runs 6'5", 6'6", throws 90, triple digit exit velos, just a heck of a ball player. And then the Braves this year also pick up at shortstop and on the mound Andrew Tay, who is also up to 90 off the bump, and just moves really well in the field as well. Really, really nice defensive position. He's headed to Southeastern Community College over in Burlington, Iowa. But J.D. Arnold calls Connor Fox his gadget guy because he plays him all over the field. When Driscoll's on the bump, Fox goes to center field. When Tay's going to be on the bump, he'll go to shortstop. He'll play third. He'll play second. He's just the ultimate gadget guy. And Coach Arnold, having been around, some great teams at St. Teresa and Mount Zion, as well as with the Decatur Commodores, having seen his fair share of draft picks, it's no shock. That's again, when a guy like JD Arnold says that about a kid, those are green flags. Like, this kid's got a bright future. Well, folks, that does it for this edition of the Diggles Diamonds podcast. My thanks, as always, to my co-host, David Bentley. And thanks to Chase Reinhart, Graydon Leonard, Keaton Ariano, and Hudson Lovell for joining us. We hope to have more players and more coaches joining us in the future. Don't forget to check us out every Monday.